I'm going to talk to you today about math. I'm going to talk a little bit about writing. I'm even going to tell you guys the most powerful word in the entire English language. Really? But even before I do that, well, I got to tell you about this. But first, I'm going to tell you a story about someone called Demosthenes. Who here's ever heard of Demosthenes? Raise your hand. Excellent. Demosthenes was about you guys' age, and he had a major problem speaking. He was very, very bad at speaking. He spoke in a very quiet voice, and he stuttered a lot, and he would break his sentences in these weird ways, so when he spoke, his parents and his teachers just didn't know what he was saying. They just didn't know what he was trying to say. So now, normally, someone like Demosthenes, what would he do? He'd say, well, maybe I should just keep quiet for the rest of my life. But that's not what Demosthenes did. He thought to himself, okay, I can look at this in two ways. One, I can say, God has given me a problem. Or I can say, God has given me a challenge. So he started practicing speaking. He got this underground room where he would speak as loud as he could, which wasn't very loud, much louder than anybody here would talk. And then he would go to the ocean, and he would yell over the ocean, just so to make his voice louder. But even that didn't work because he still stuttered and he couldn't really get his words out. So he would fill his mouth with rocks, and he would try to talk with rocks in his mouth. And eventually, he became able to talk with rocks in his mouth. And then he could talk with rocks in his mouth over the sound of the ocean. And by this point, his speech was so powerful, and his voice was so powerful and so loud, that in the giant Greek amphitheaters, his voice could be heard from one end to the other. And he was considered, actually, to be probably one of the greatest speakers to live in all of ancient Greece. So that gets us to, what is the most powerful word? The most powerful word is something that Demosthenes understood. And it's not a big word. It's not a word like tatterdemilion or something big. It's a small word. It only has 3 letters. Does anybody know what that word is?
Can.
Pretty close. That's a really good word.
Love.
Not that one. Not a bad one. Not a bad one.
Sorry.
Nope, it's not sorry. It's even more powerful than sorry. It's more powerful than abracadabra. It's more powerful than please. All right, tell me who I have here. Do we have 6th graders today or just 5th graders? 5th graders. Where are the 4th graders? Any 4th graders? Excellent. And how about 3rd graders? Excellent. And 2nd graders? Good. And 1st graders? Excellent. Excellent. Okay. The most powerful word in the English language is yet. Now, yet doesn't sound like a very significant yet. Y-E-T. Yet. Because you can add yet to the end of any challenge, any sentence where somebody tells you you can't do something, and you turn it around. For example, 5th graders, where are you? Alright, 5th graders. Suppose someone says to you, you know what? You're not a very good athlete. You're not very good yet. You just say yet. 1st graders, where are you guys? Right over here. Suppose that someone says to you, oh, you guys over here too. Suppose that someone says to you, you're not a very good writer. What do you say?
Yeah.
Excellent. If someone says, the 2nd graders, where are you? Someone says to you, you're not very good at math. What do you say?
Yeah.
How about 4th graders? Someone says, you're not very good at business. What do you say?
Yeah.
Exactly. See, if you say yeah, you recognize that things are temporary, things can change. Just because you're not. What was that?
You forgot 3rd grade.
Oh, 3rd grade. 3rd grade. Someone says you're not an Olympic athlete. What do you say?
Yeah.
Excellent. See, when you add yet, you turn a challenge that somebody gives you into something good. You see, every one of you in this room can either speak or use sign language or somehow communicate, but when you were babies, you couldn't. So now the question becomes this. If you're able to do these things, if by working hard with speaking you can speak, or by doing push-ups you can become very strong, or by going to a gym you can become very strong, the question is, why would you want to use that for math? Anybody have any ideas? Like, what's so good about math? I mean, I spend a lot of time teaching math, and I tell people that they can be good at math, but why would you want to be good at math? What's so good about being good at math? It does help you with your life.
Because there's math pretty much everywhere, and you can use it sometimes.
Excellent, excellent. Good. Now, have you ever seen in the middle of a football game, one of the football players just lie down on his back and go like this a bunch of times? You did? Oh, maybe it happened once, maybe it happened a couple times. But it doesn't usually happen most of the time. But still, every single football player does the bench press, which is where you lie on your back and lift a weight up. Why do they do it? Who knows why? To get themselves stronger. See, math can do the same thing for your mind. It can make your entire brain stronger. Not just to be good at math, but it actually makes you good at other things. It makes you good obviously at science, but it helps you with your writing. See, I know this because I've written a book. Now, here's another thing when we talk about writing books, just to skip ahead for a second. I've written one book, and everybody talks about, Arvin, so good that you've written this one book. But what people don't know is I've actually tried to write about 50 books. They didn't really work out. But did I give up? What did I say? What magic word did I say? Exactly. The other thing that you have to understand about math, first, is that what lifting weights does for your body, math does for your mind. The other thing you have to understand about math is, tell me this, who is the vice president's boss? If the vice president had a boss, who would his boss be? The president. Now here's the question, if the president had a boss, who's his boss?
United States.
Yeah, like the United States is his boss, but all the people in the United States are the president's boss.
Cool.
Every single person who's over 18, you guys all are going to be the president's boss in a few years. But here's the thing about being the president's boss. Here's the thing that I've learned. What's bigger, a million or a billion?
Billion.
How many times bigger is it? It's actually not a million times bigger. It's 1,000 times. A billion is 1,000 times bigger than a million. So it's the difference essentially between the price of a very nice steak and the price of a very nice car. Now, one thing that I learned doing politics is this. If you say $100 billion or $100 million, people think of it as basically the same thing. 100 million and 100 billion people think is the same number, but is it the same number?
No.
How many times bigger is 100 billion than 100 million? It's 1,000 times bigger. Now, that's a significant thing, because you guys are soon going to be making decisions that involve that level of money. So you need to be able to understand those numbers. You need to be able to say, oh, this is a million, this is a billion, and here's what I want to give you. I want to give you guys all a single number that I want you guys to keep in your mind. And here's the number. It's 500 billion. What is significant about 500 billion? 500 billion.
It's a really big number.
It is a very big number. In fact, that is the amount. I bet like right now, a lot of you guys' parents are saving up money for something. What are they saving up money for? Yes, for college. Your parents are saving up money for college. And if you take all the money that all the parents in the entire country are saving up for college, that's $500 billion. So if someone says that something costs $500 billion, it costs that much. And it's enough to pay for every single person to go to college. And if something costs, say, $100 billion, how much would that be for? Where's the fifth graders? What fraction is that going to be? Yes, a fifth of the people to college. So that's the other reason that you need to know about math. You need to know about math because you guys are going to be running this country. You're going to be in charge of the entire country. Now, the final thing I want to talk about, and we're going to have some time you guys can talk about questions and whatever, but the final thing I want to talk about is this. I told you the most powerful word in the English language. But what about the thing that's going to fight against that? What's the thing that holds us back? What's the thing against? Can't. That's actually an excellent word that holds us back. But there's actually a thing that holds us back, and that's a certain kind of fear. And that's the fear that people say, yes?
Actually, no.
Okay. That's the fear that people have when they say, what if I try to do something big and it doesn't work?
What if I fail?
Exactly. What happens if I fail? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you, because I used to, when I was a kid, I was extremely afraid of failure. And then I actually failed at a few things, and I realized the price of failure. What happens to a person when they fail? Because I thought something horrible would happen. You know what actually happens? Here's what happens. If you try to become, say, the best tennis player in the world, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to become a very, very, very good tennis player. And if you try to become the richest person in the world, the worst that's going to happen is you'll become very, very rich. And And if you try to become the smartest person ever born, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you're going to become very, very, very smart. I'm going to leave you guys with a quote. And this is one of my favorite quotes. It's one of my favorite quotes. I like this quote so much that on my vocabulary program, which is called Vocabulary Synapse, instead of writing vocabulary synapse on the CD, I just wrote this quote. And here's what the quote is. The quote is, all things are difficult before they are easy. That means anytime you learn something new, it's going to start out hard, and then it's going to become easy. So, as you guys go forward today, career day, and for I guess, the next few years, that's what I want you to think about. Recognize that all the things that you think are difficult, whether it's math, whether it's writing, whether it's reading, those, if you try hard enough, if you work hard enough, one day, all those things will be easy. Thank you very much, and I'll just pause and ask you if you guys have any questions.